Hello, my friends. Good afternoon and happy Saturday. What a week we had in the Karen Read retrial, and I am very excited about today's show. We will take a look at everything that happened this week, and of course, we'll have some funny body language as always. Before we begin, I just wanted to mention that this week was awesome. I had the honor to appearing in the Young Jerks show, and if you haven't had a chance to watch it yet, please check it out. You can see it either on my channel or on his channel on YouTube, The Young Jerks with JURKS. It was great. We had a lot of fun. It's great to have somebody that understands what's going on in this trial to be able to talk to. And he's a great guy. We had a lot of fun. It's great that he, as a journalist creator, and he has a big audience that he supported another creator, so he does that all the time. He always has different people in his show. If you're new here to the BiancaMMM, body language, true crime, don't be scared. We don't only talk about body language. We talk about many things. We have fun. We try to make light and add a little bit of sense of humor to a difficult subject, which is crime analysis and what's going on in the courts nowadays. So if you're new, welcome. We have an awesome chat. We have great people that participate all the time. And if you are one of our members already, welcome back. Please show us your support. You can hit the like button, you can share, you can subscribe, you can become a member. And if you're rewatching this after we are no longer live, please leave a comment below as well so we can know that you guys are here. We're going to start by checking out what happened, a little bit of what happened Monday in court with Trooper Bukhenik. That was his last day of testimony. So day 3 that he was on the witness stand. And we're going to start with a little bit of Trooper Bukhenik, and then we're going to go through everything that happened this week. This is like going to be a big live, so please sit back, get a drink, enjoy, and we're going to have some fun. So let me just share this screen here with you, and let's see a little bit about Trooper Bukhenik.
I explained to Mr. Higgins that we have in our custody and will eventually get into both the defendant's phone and Mr. O'Keefe's phone, so that protect his integrity as a law enforcement official. I told him that the information he was providing better be true and accurate, or else he would suffer the consequences of the ulterior.
In September of 2022, you were served with a preservation order for your phone, were you not?
Yes.
After September of 2022, you never received anything in writing that canceled or lifted that preservation order, correct?
That's correct.
Before you threw the phone away, you did a factory reset of it, did you not?
No, I did not.
Having read that document, sir, does that refresh your memory about telling those people in May of 2023 that you did do a factory reset of your phone?
That's not accurate.
Did you take the SIM card out of your phone, yes or no?
I don't know.
Did you testify that that's what you do when you get rid of phones, sir?
What I said was that might have been the extent of it if I was to have done that.
You swore to tell the truth.
Yes.
You raised your right hand.
That's correct.
Did you say the following, quote, I made sure that somebody couldn't put it in their phone?
Yes, I did say that.
And you'll agree with me that you took that destroyed SIM card and put it in a trash bag, did you not?
I believe it went in a trash bag, yes.
Well, you used a passive voice. It went in a trash bag. Did it fly out of your hand unexpectedly into a trash bag, sir?
No, sir. It would have been disposed of with the phone.
Can you answer that? Are you reluctant to say that?
No, Your Honor. I put it in a trash bag. Or with my trash. Well, I was cutting through the base, and I believe how I testified was...
To a military base, sir.
Hold on. This is too good. I have to stop. This is Brian Higgins. He has not testified in 2025. If you're new to this case, this is someone who has not testified yet. His name is Brian Higgins. He is an ATF agent, and he was in the house. Where John O'Keefe was found dead outside in the snow the following day. He was drinking with everybody at a bar the night before. Then he went to his friend's house, Brian Albert, where the body was found, and he got rid of his phone. He got rid of his phone. He drove to a military base to destroy the SIM card, and his testimony is just fantastic. I really hope the defense is going to call Brian Higgins because he looks like an idiot on the stand. He's like, if I would have done this, that's how I would have done it. If somebody would have thrown their phone away, that's how they would have done it. So let's just continue here with Brian Higgins.
I was cutting through a base,
Did
yes.
you drive to it?
Yes, sir.
And then you put both the destroyed SIM card and the phone itself, which were in a trash bag, into a dumpster on that military base, did you not?
I believe that's what I did, yes.
So the only place you knew they existed was on your old phone, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
The same phone that you put into a dumpster on a military base with a SIM card removed from the phone and destroyed, correct?
Well, I did throw the SIM card and the phone on the military base.
Right, and the SIM card was destroyed. You've already testified to that.
I said to the extent of if I did that, I would have done that.
What? If I did that, I would have done that. So we're going to pause here. If I did that, that's what I would have done. So I hope that Brian Higgins comes in and testifies because it's just a great demonstration of how this case has caused so much, so many people are talking about this case, and so much suspicion is in the air because these cops, they seem to have this circle of trust. They seem to have this way about them that one talks to the other, one protects the other. And Trooper Bukhenik this week when he testified, that's what he said on the stand. I told Brian Higgins, listen, Brian, we're going to get your phone. So in order for you to protect your integrity as an officer, you need to make sure the information there matches what the information on the other phones are going to have. So we have Karen's phone, we have John O'Keefe's phone. We're going to match it all. So I'm telling you that because if you did kill him, if you were involved with the death, you need to make sure there is nothing wrong on your phone. And I am a cop telling you, another agent, that's how we do. We protect each other. This is pretty much what he said on the stand, right? He said, listen, Brian Higgins, make sure your information on your phone matches what we have. So what if Brian Higgins had something to do with the death of John O'Keefe? What if he did? This guy is telling everybody he conducted the investigation with honor and integrity, with the utmost professionalism, and he's warning another person just because he's a cop, listen, make sure there's no evidence on your phone that you were involved with this. Pretty much, that's what he's saying. So that was the beginning of the week. Day 14, Monday, where Trooper B was on the stand for the third day. And hi, Lucinda. Hi, Maria. It's great to have you guys here. So why is this so important? Because they also showed videos of Brian Higgins at the at the Canton PD, I believe. Let me put this slide here now. This is what had happened. What had happened was, oh, sorry, this is the judge and the prosecutor, if you guys are not familiar. But John O'Keefe, the victim of this crime, this case, died on January 29th after 12 a.m. That's all we know, because 12 a.m. they were leaving the waterfall to head over to the house. So he definitely died after 12 a.m. Now, Brian Higgins, this guy we just watched, the ATF agent, he was at the police department's parking lot in the middle of the night. So around 1:29 a.m., we had videos this week that were shown in court of Brian Higgins at the Canton PD. It was snowing so heavily, and this guy is outside the Canton PD with his phone. So why is this all important? Okay, Brian Higgins, when he testified, he said he never called Brian Albert in the middle of the night. There's a phone call at 2:22 a.m., I believe. And no, the phone call is 22 seconds. I'm going to show you guys the sample phone call that I have. But the phone call is like 22 seconds, and Brian Albert and Brian Higgins both come and testify, and both of them no longer have the phones, but both of them destroyed or switched phones, so the phones no longer exist. Brian Higgins, this guy, provided this cop, TrooperB, specific screenshots. He only provided him certain things. He didn't provide the whole phone. He didn't provide the whole extraction. He destroyed his phone in a military base, and then he says, I never called Brian Albert in the middle of the night. It was a butt call. It was a butt dial. Brian Albert comes and says it was a butt dial. Brian Higgins comes and says it was a butt dial. Both of them destroyed their phones. But Brian Higgins was at Canton PD at 1:30 in the morning, showing that he was on the phone. So he was on the phone with somebody in the middle of the night, the same night John O'Keefe died. Now, they say it is a butt call, and there's no way you can speak. There's no way you can have a conversation in 22 seconds, which is the amount of time the call happened. So this is a little funny explanation of how you could have a conversation in 22 seconds. Let me grab this here. The 22-second call, so you guys can hear it. And of course, this is not real. It's just a montage I created to show you guys it's possible to have a 22-second. Let me see. If I play this video, it should play the phone call. Nope, it's not. Okay, so hold on. I will put it on here. 22-second call. And I will share this with you guys. Let me play the trooper in meanwhile while I'm putting that here.
The defendant's house?
Yes.
Did you look for other witness statements?
Yes.
Did you try to obtain further evidence?
Yes, we did.
Was there an interview with firefighter Timothy Nuttall on February 8th?
Yes, there was.
And that was about...
Phone down a little bit closer to you, please.
Yes, sir. Or yes, ma'am. Excuse me.
This is Timothy Nuttall.
I hit him. Mr. Jackson and or next to Mr. Jackson.
I see. When you looked up and saw that person and asked about any background, what did she say to you?
I hit him.
Did you learn any statements from him in addition to the earlier statements you learned that added to your investigation?
Yes.
I'm going to allow it.
And do you remember what Timothy Nuttall told you on February 8th, 2022 about any statements of the defendant?
Objection.
So folks, again, this is being offered not for the truth of the statement, but simply to show that the information was provided to the police.
Yes, Mr. Nuttall was one of three, I believe.
So
This is a hearsay objection, right? Somebody else that is not here, that already testified, told me, she told him that. So hearsay, hearsay, hearsay. Of course, the defense is objecting. The witness is mad. His lips are, together like disappearing lips. Something is wrong. And of course, the judge is going to allow it because the judge allows anything for the prosecution.
talk about Mr. Nuttall, please.
Mr. Nuttall told me that the defendant stated, I hit him.
Definition of hearsay.
When you were considering the physical...
Okay, so now this is another subject. So I want to go back real quick just to show you guys that, yes, you can have a conversation with somebody for 22 seconds. So this is the famous 22-second call, which I created as a montage, and it's on my channel if you guys ever want to go check it out. Now, let's hear. Can you talk to somebody for 22 seconds?
Brian Higgins. It's Brian
last name Albert.
How deep is that plow?
It was dark. Whiskey, I think it was 3 to 4, at least a couple.
Fooling around. The TV was on. I remember the phone being on the bed.
I threw the phone away.
My phone was upgraded.
Do I know how to get rid of information? I mean, I think there's different ways you can wipe your phone. My best friend, he's a coworker of mine. He has a level of expertise more than myself. You wipe your phone.
Correct that it becomes a brick.
If I did take the SIM card out, I had every right to do that.
And
Objection.
that is 22 seconds. That is 22 seconds. Now, they could have a full-on conversation 22 seconds. So Brian Higgins was in the middle of the night. He was in the police department parking lot. It was snowing very heavily. This is after he had drank all day. He had gone to a funeral. He had so many whiskeys that I don't even remember how many whiskeys he had. After that, he went to the Waterfall Bar. That's where he met with Karen, John O'Keefe, and all his friends. After midnight, they went to Brian Albert's house. And then something happened. John O'Keefe appeared dead on the next day on the snow, on the lawn. And nobody knows what happened to Mr. John O'Keefe, former police officer. Now, this guy, Brian Higgins, goes to the police department after that, after all of that. And he's just there on the phone outside in the snow. Don't know who he's talking to. After that, his phone is completely gone because he drove to a military base to destroy it, destroyed the SIM card, destroyed things separately. He threw the phone away somewhere, SIM card somewhere else. The other guy, Brian Albert, well, he traded in his phone and he no longer had the phone either. But not only he got rid of his phone, Brian Albert, the owner of the house, he got rid of his German Shepherd dog. He got rid of the house. What else did he get rid of? Everything was rehomed. Everything was rehomed. He sold the house that was his family house for many, many generations for less than the market value. And they just got the heck out of there. So is it suspicious or not? Is this reasonable doubt or not? Not yet, but we had the week of reasonable doubt. So let's go to a little bit of what happened in the court, and then we'll come back to more TrooperB later. Okay, so another thing they did, so Monday it was Trooper Bukhenik. Tuesday there was no court. Wednesday we had a little clip introduced, which was the clip of Karen Read, and we're gonna watch that right now. Little video by the defendant, because of course she had many interviews.
There's Amy Wendell here, that you guys have really been going at it. This was sort of like a last date element to it. Was that going on? That was not going on.
The sound is terrible, and this is not me. It is the interview, because every time we watched it, that's how it was. But I'll put the subtitles here, and then I'll try to translate it.
I'm never breaking up with you. You know, not never that we're in this good or bad, but you're the best person I've ever.
Okay, so they played this clip on Wednesday, first thing in the day, just to say John O'Keefe said he'll never break up with me. That was Karen saying that, but then they brought in the niece that lived with John O'Keefe to say, you know, they were having problems with the relationship, they were going to break up, and she was a juvenile witness, so we don't have any videos or anything of her. What I can do is just go on X here real quick, take a quick look at some of her testimony. Let me see, just so that we can see what she said. The niece, who is underage, 17 years old. She was 14 at the time of John O'Keefe's death. She was questioned by Laura McLaughlin, one of the district attorneys. She has a brother who is 3 years young, and he did not testify this time. He did testify last time. Okay, I'm just trying to see if there's anything on this slide. Okay, next. Okay, niece says after Reed started dating John O'Keefe in 2020, she stayed over about once a week, later daily. So Karen, the defendant, was going to the boyfriend's house once a week and then every day. Says she would get food and go shopping with her. When asked about her relationship with the defendant, Karen Read, the niece pauses before saying that on some days it wasn't a good standard, but not others. She would kind of like ignore me, but it felt like a coldness towards me. So she felt like she was a little cold. So the defendant listens to the niece and has no expression on her face. That's what they're saying. Then let's see. Okay, the niece said that John O'Keefe's and Reed's relationship changed at the end of 2021. They were fighting a lot, usually like more towards the night. Says O'Keefe seemed frustrated while talking to Reed on the phone. She was very upset and angry. Niece says her voice was louder than her uncle's. Now, the judge instructed the jurors about upcoming testimony, saying that it can only be used to determine the defendant's state of mind. Let's see. Also, the niece talked about this New Year's trip they all had to Aruba, and that Karen Reed was fighting with him in the hotel room. Let me see what else. So niece said there were more fights when they returned home to Canton. She refers to Karen Reed as the defendant in her testimony. I remember hearing him say that their relationship was good, but it had run its course. And he said that Karen Reed was upset. John O'Keefe asked her to leave. She did not want to leave. Then he would say more aggressively, asked her to leave. It was more like a stern, she said. He wouldn't let her go into the bedroom. She began to bang on his door. I could tell that there was tension. They were cold towards each other. Okay, so let me see what else. Okay, when the defendant couldn't find John O'Keefe, niece said Karen Reed asked her to use her phone to text John O'Keefe. No response. Says Reed on her phone remained frantic, and she put the phone on speaker, handed it to Karen when the niece called JENNIFERMACABE. And this is where, they're trying to find what happened to him. The defendant was asking what could have happened. The niece says, she said things like, could I have done something? Could he have gotten hit by a plow? And then, okay. Then the prosecutor had to say, wait. Didn't you say that she said I hit him? And the niece couldn't remember. She had to read the transcripts. And then after looking at the transcripts, the niece says, yes, Karen Reed said several things, including it was like, maybe I hit him. She said that she had dropped him off. So many things happening in this testimony. The niece says she had never seen Reed as frantic as she saw her that morning. Then later, Karen returned with her father, and they didn't stay very long. Okay, so this is pretty much what happened with the niece testifying. Lucinda, good to have you here. JFK had a conversation with Higgins on his live show. Higgins called in the nights they were going over the waterfall video. Who is JFK, please, Lucinda? I am not processing right now. Marushka, my friend, they did it intentionally, so obvious. Hopefully the jury can see through it. Absolutely. There's a lot of suspicious activity here. So this is Wednesday. What else happened on Wednesday? So let's go over this slide real quick that hopefully makes us understand who else testified. So we're going to talk about a little bit of the anomalies that happened in the Sally court. So this is where the car was taken. The defendant's SUV was taken to this garage called the Sally Port garage to be kept there because they were thinking, okay, Karen Reed hit the person with her car, so the SUV became a piece of evidence. Why is this I can't even pronounce this word. I use anomalies because this video was first introduced by the prosecution as a mirror image, right? And this is why we're talking about Trooper Bukhenik, because he's the one that introduced this video. So instead of having the video be normal, like, okay, the right side is the right side, the left side is the left side, they're saying that the defendant hit hit John O'Keefe with her right back tail light. So they introduced this video, and all the cops are behind the car on the left side, but obviously they were on the right side because it was a mirrored video. So this is the video they introduced. 3 guys on the right side by the tail light. What were they doing by the tail light, right? Why was the video inverted? And then there's also a gap in this video. When they look at the clock and how the video is being recorded live, they have like a gap, and all of a sudden there's somebody behind the car leaving, and we don't know who it is. So I have it here. Maybe it's a ghost. Maybe it's the ghost of Brian Higgins. So we don't know. The suspicion the defense has is that they did something to the car, that the car didn't have the tail light completely broken, and that the cops could have done something, tampered with the evidence. Okay, so on day 15, who do we have testifying on day 15? That was the day we had these 3 guys here, and they just had minor roles. We had Zachary Clark. He just went there to photograph the vehicle, process fingerprints. We had Sergeant Evan Brent. He was a part of the excavation. So he was a part of going back to the scene. John O'Keefe died on January 29th. So he went back to the scene on February 3rd. And he took pictures of the items that they found after the fact, right? Then we have Detective Brian Gallerani that collected the DNA from the troopers. Interesting thing to note here, though, is that there's 2 things. On the middle witness, the guy who came to take pictures, he only went there on February 3rd. But the detective kept finding evidence. Day after day, they kept driving to the scene, and evidence continued to present itself. Like they testified. Trooper Bukhenik said evidence just kept presenting itself. We drove by every day after the crime, so we found evidence. And the death happened on January 29th. We found evidence February 3rd, February 4th, February 10th, February 11th. So these are the dates that they kept finding evidence in the snow. They found shoes, they found hats, they found pieces of taillights. But remember, this is after a whole forensic team called the CERT, the CERT team, had already gone to the scene and done a methodical grid search. What is a methodical grid search? One person is after the other, and they're literally like doing the lines and just like reviewing this area, reviewing this area, reviewing this area. They didn't find any of this. They didn't find a shoe. They didn't find a hat. They didn't find these big things that these 2 troopers, Bukhenik and Proctor, who is now fired, found afterwards. So January 29th, the death occurs. The next day, the CERT team conducts the methodical search. Nothing. And now they find all these things. Now, this guy that we just saw only went there to photograph on the February 3rd. Then the other days, the other troopers were there by themselves, Trooper Bukhenik and Trooper Proctor. Trooper Proctor, who was fired for his lack of professionalism, for calling the defendant a CUNT, for telling everybody on his group text message that he hoped the defendant killed herself. That's right. That is Trooper Proctor, who was fired. So this other guy, he collected the DNA from the troopers, but they didn't test for anything. They didn't check the DNAs for anything. So why are you collecting all this DNA if you're not going to do anything with it? Okay. So Lucinda is saying that JFK is a YouTuber and comes on with James Jackson, Alan Jackson nephew. Oh, cool. He was the first one that came out with the waterfall video, and then Microdots made the video. Awesome. I would check them out. Thank you so much. Then we heard from this lady, the Maureen biological criminalist. So we're going to take a look at her testimony real quick. She is the one that talked about the DNA. She saw glass in the back of the SUV at the garage. She saw little pieces of glass and one strand of hair with the roots glue in the back of the SUV. She found little pieces of glass and one hair in the back of the SUV. Now, this is an SUV that had been in the snow, moved from this place to that place, from this place to that place with wind. Everything is happening. But when this lady goes to the garage where the SUV is kept, she finds one piece of hair with the roots, and she finds little pieces of glass. Okay. Now, she didn't test for that for DNA. She said the hair was consistent with a human hair with a root. And the SUV was parked at the Canton police station along with the dent, scratches, and one apparent hair. So this is one of the forensic scientists. Now, let me make this a little bit larger. One of the things she said was, I made my determination on which cup of blood to swap based on where I was told the cups were collected from. And this is where this case just, it's a case that keeps on giving. It's the trial that nobody has ever seen before. What is she talking about? If you don't know, the Lieutenant Gallagher and the other people who were the first people on the scene, the way they collected blood from the snow is they took some Solo cups from the neighbor, the red cups that people drink beer in, and that's how they just scooped the snow, and that was how they handled the evidence. This lady gets a bunch of Solo cups, like several red cups, and she's a forensic scientist, and she's going to be like, okay, let me see which blood I'm going to test. And she goes like, meeny, meeny, miny, mo, I'm going to test this one. Because she just made a determination based on what the officers are telling her. So there's a pattern in this case. Everybody's going to testify the same way. The forensic scientist is saying, I'm basing my determination based on what they're telling me. The ME, the coroner, when she comes, she's going to say, I'm basing my determination based on what they're telling me. So notice the pattern. All of these items, the cup, the shoes, the hats, the blood, they were found in this area of the lawn after the grid search had already been performed. So we're going to take a quick look at a small piece of her testimony. Let me add this and remove that. And let's hear from Maureen, the forensic scientist.
On the taillight.
Objection, Your Honor.
It's sustained.
If strands of cloth were pulled from those clothing and placed in the taillight area, would you know when they were placed?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
When you get to a scene and you examine an area, if you don't see it firsthand, is there any way you can date when items are placed on an object?
I'm sorry, can you ask that one more time, please?
Sure. When you look at an area like a taillight, if you found blood or cloth or another item in that area, would you know when it was placed in that area?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll allow that.
I think there are really just too many variables to say either way.
Okay, so here, what is happening? What is happening? The prosecution understands the defense is suggesting items were placed in this SUV, okay? Little pieces of glass were placed there. This hair didn't come out of nowhere because this hair was not being held by glue, by tape, by staple. This hair just appeared in the back. Here's a hair for you. Why don't you examine this? After the car was moved in the wind, in the snow, this hair stayed there from the crime scene. That's what they want us to believe. So the defense is suggesting somebody did something. Somebody put these things there. So the prosecution here is asking her, you know, would you know if somebody would have put this there? And she's like, there's too many variables. I don't know. So we're going to take a look at the clothes that were found real quick, which was also part of her testimony.
On the left is the right
just so we can
sleeve
see
of what we refer to as the hoodie. And on the right is what color would you like to call that t-shirt?
Orange, please.
All right, so the orange t-shirt.
I call it coral, but let's not quarrel about this, okay? Ha 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 ha. Let's say hi to Sea Salt and Driftwood. Hi from West Yorkshire, England. Unfortunately, the kids have had 3 years for false memories to be implanted and be coached. Right. And the kids, apparently they did, the niece, for example, she had Jennifer McCabe's phone. So if she's talking to Jennifer McCabe, all bets are off, because Jennifer McCabe is a master manipulator and she has this ability to just convince people. I mean, Carrie Roberts came in this year testifying very differently than how she testified last time, because she has been in contact with Jennifer McCabe the whole time. So I don't doubt that the kids could have been coached, and only the niece would testify this year, right? So the nephew was like, I don't want to testify for some reason, you know. Now, Leanne, so sorry, not sorry. Hello. Great to catch you live. I'm so glad that you are here and that you caught us live as well. So these clothes were recovered from the hospital where John O'Keefe was taken after he was found. And funny enough, Proctor, the lead investigator, had these clothes with him in his possession for how long? I wrote it down here somewhere. He had it, I think, for 3 weeks or something. I will tell you guys later when I get to that point on my notes, because otherwise I won't find it. He had the clothes for a long time in his possession. The freaking lead investigator, he didn't take the clothes from the hospital and send it to the forensic lab. No, 6 weeks, Leanne. Thank you. Why did the lead investigator keep the clothes of the victim in his car or his house or his bedroom or whatever for 6 weeks? That is sus. It's sus. It's sus. Okay. So another thing she did, okay, she got, by the way that he had these clothes together were all together in one brown paper bag with debris on the bottom. And then the attorney is going to ask her about cross-contamination. Let's hear that.
Were you aware of whether or not the debris, whether those items had been on the floor of an ambulance or a floor of a hospital?
No, I did not have any information like that.
Is it important to maintain the sanitary condition of evidence generally to avoid contamination?
We do our best to avoid contamination once we receive items into evidence, yes.
And what are some of the protocols that are used to avoid contamination of evidence, generally?
Generally, wearing gloves, putting items in packaging, bleaching any materials or utensils that we're going to use, or using disposable materials, sterile materials when possible or necessary. We also wear lab coats when processing evidence.
Is another protocol or technique to separate out pieces of evidence to prevent cross-contamination?
Sometimes we will separate pieces of evidence. If the items are already mixed in with each other, then the items are kept together, can be kept together.
So sometimes we will separate items, right? Evidence, chain of custody, protecting the integrity of the evidence. This lady's a scientist. She knows the importance of that. But when she received the clothes after Proctor had, I don't know, slept with the clothes for 6 weeks and just like held it in his bedroom or something. I don't know what the heck he was doing with the clothes of the victim for 6 weeks, but he put everything in a brown paper bag and he gave it to the scientist. So she's like, well, yeah, I mean, it would be nice to have them separated, but that's how we got it. So if we got it all together, we're going to keep it all together. And here's the part where she's talking about the solo cups. And this has been an issue that people are having rumors about, saying that when they were talking about solo cups, that some people in the jury were like making faces to the point that the judge had to admonish the jury the next day, saying, guys, please don't make faces. And I'm going to say, Judge, if people don't make faces, what do you want me to do? Because this is what my channel is all about. We look at micro expressions here. I wish I could be there, but of course I wouldn't be commenting on the jury's faces because that would be not a good thing for me to do. But the jury is making faces, and there's a lot of things that we can't control. Judge Bev, you make faces all the time. You're like, oh, I'll show some of your faces in this live today. So you can't control some of our micro expressions, rolling the eyes, sides. We just can't. So when the jury is being told that these police officers collected the evidence using red Solo cups, I mean, judge, what do you want the jury to do? They made faces. So let's take a look at the red Solo cups commentary here, or the part of the testimony here. Oh, Brennan, I can't stand you. Can't stand you, Brennan.
You mentioned that you had an opportunity to observe a paper bag that had red Solo cups in it.
Yes, that's
Solo
correct.
cups.
And the red Solo cups had a coloring of red in the cups?
Yes.
You'd never seen blood preserved in cups like that before?
No, nobody has. Nobody has, Brennan.
Had you ever seen
That's insane. Oh no, why are we going like this?
blood stored in cups like that before?
No.
No,
Do you
it's
know
crazy.
the circumstances of storing that blood?
Can you rephrase that question, please?
When the blood was stored in the cups, do you know the circumstances?
Sorry, Mr. Brennan. Your Honor, objection. Can we have a sidebar, please? It's important.
Okay, look at his face. Oh, I can't stand this guy. He's just gross. Brennan is gross. He's trying to excuse the cops for using Solo cups to collect the evidence. He's saying, listen, do you know what they were going through? Do you know what the poor officers were going through? They couldn't bother to have gloves. They couldn't bother to get an evidence bag. They couldn't bother to get an evidence kit and take the evidence appropriately like forensic scientists will do. If you guys haven't watched, there is a channel called Duty Ron, D-U-T-Y Ron. He is a retired police officer, and he also has a guest on his show all the time that was I think he was a forensic expert, so a type of like CSI Dexter style. And he explains, like he shows the kits, the glove, the bags, the type, what he would do. He would take tape together any hair, any fabrics from the evidence. You don't just take a cup and go like, scoop the snow, put the blood there, take all the clothes, put it in a brown paper bag, and that's how you collect evidence. You don't do that. So the prosecutor here is trying to normalize this behavior, and it's just not normal. Let me see if we have any more slides on her, or if we're gonna move to somebody else now. Let's see. Okay, we are gonna move to somebody else. So I'm gonna check if I have any more clips for her. I think I have one more, and that is the hair in the glass, how it was found. I just want to show this real quick, which is the hold on. This is the car. This is the defendant's car after being in the garage, after being in the Sally Port. So this is how she found that hair and the little pieces of glass.
I'm just going to show you another picture of it, of that hair that might be in a different location or different shape. So I want to give a contrast. So whatever term you want to use that's fair to you.
So I think it looks like a C. I can't say, it could also be like a U. I'm not sure which way the ends are facing from this perspective.
What are we even looking at?
Just so we're clear and the jury's clear, just draw a circle around it again, what you're talking about, and we won't give it a name.
Please, what are you talking
Just do the
about?
contrast.
Okay.
Right.
What is that? That's the hair?
If
Right
I
here?
were to just say there looks like there might be a little hook at the top and then there's a vertical line, is that a
Yeah.
fair description?
A hook.
Okay, so can we go with that? A little hook at the top and then a straight or a line, that vertical line that comes down?
Sure.
And that hook is orienting left, correct?
Sure.
Of the vertical line, it's to the
This
left
is the
of
hook they're
vertical line?
talking about. I don't know if you guys can see
Yes,
my
I do see-
mouse here, right here.
This
This is the hair they found.
Okay, very good. And that's the apparent hair.
Yes.
And you only
Sure.
saw or found one apparent hair, correct?
One piece.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, if we could, Mr. Wolk, now go to Exhibit 144A. And if you could zoom in on that for Ms. Hartnett and the jury's benefit.
You can see it good. So this is the SUV
Could you draw a circle
in the Sally
now
Port garage.
around the apparent hair?
The hair is here. The hair stayed in the
Thank you.
SUV
And
all this time.
Isn't that apparent hair now? oriented
to the
almost
right.
180 degrees, the opposite?
It
with
was to
the
the left.
hook orienting right?
The photo's taken from a different angle, so
Let's go
Hair
back.
the
Let's go
vehicle, so
back.
I'm
Okay,
not
see?
sure.
Whatever way
Look
you
at
would
this.
describe it, a letter or shape, because then
This is looking, the little hook is to the left. And this is where the tape is, the white rectangle here. So we can see the tape is here. The little hair is to the left. On another picture, which is what Alessi was just asking, look at this. The hair now is completely different to the right. So somebody took the hair and moved it. And this is the tape. So the tape is in the same way.
Talking about the hook at the
Interesting. Let's see
top,
what she's
looks
going to
now-
say about this.
It appears to be on the right, but I can't, they're taken from different angles, sure.
We don't
No.
buy that, Maureen. Hi, Queen Olive. Good to see you. Hello, everyone. On my way home from the store. Yeah, Saturday, you got to do things. You got to get your groceries done. You got to clean the house. You got to get ready for the week. Every time they say apparent hair, I think very apparent. You think air apparent or very apparent? Every single time, LOL. Very apparent to me, very apparent to me, or air apparent. So
I mean,
he's
I
saying,
have
are
to
you,
see them side by side, but it's just
are
the
you
orientation of the-
speculating that this is a
my
different angle?
marking. Can you put them up side by side?
Yes,
Okay.
let's do that. Oh, that would be very helpful. Please,
Potentially, yes, thank
Alessi,
you.
let's do side by side. I mean, today. We don't have all day here. Okay, this is one picture with Alexis, the little tape right there. The little tape is what they're talking about. And this is another picture right here. Please zoom in. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, one, the hook is
I
to
mean,
the
even
left.
from the overalls, I can tell that they're taken. Sure.
What?
Okay.
Wow.
Where you wanted to start?
Are we watching?
Yes, just by looking at
Are
those, to me,
we watching evidence tampering in real time? Okay, Lucinda says the hair travels 60 miles back and forth in a blizzard, hanging on for dear life, dancing. And in the same garage where the car is parked, the hair is shown to the left and then the hair is shown to the right. I mean, who moved the hair?
it looks like one is from slightly to the side of the vehicle and one is more directly head on.
Right, so one slightly to the side.
And whose
the
hair
other
is that?
More head on, but that's the only difference, correct? It's
Yes.
still the same from top to bottom. It's still the same from side to side.
Yeah.
It's the same orientation.
I mean, she shouldn't be trying to
The vehicle
excuse
didn't
this.
move, but the camera angle is different in both pictures. That's what I was saying in the other one. So the camera angle.
No. Hi, Ask Bob. Good to see you. Good afternoon and happy Saturday to you, my friends. Bianca is more beautiful than just brilliant too. Guys, don't be misled, okay? Ask Bobby is my fan, so he always calls me beautiful, but please, that is not true. Not even close. But I don't buy it. I don't buy this whole thing with the hair. I mean, the hair traveled 80 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour in a blizzard. And then when it got there, it was photographed first to the left and to the right. Okay, we're not going to go deeper into the hair. Enough about the hair. Let's go to day 16. What happened on day 16? Day 16, we had the beautiful Dr. Scoribello, the ME, the coroner. A lot of people thought maybe she wasn't going to testify because the testimony that she gives is not great for the Commonwealth. But they had to call her because they had to determine the victim has died. In order to say the victim has died, we have a crime, we're charging for a homicide. We have to have a doctor say, yes, there was a dead body. I examined it. I can't say that. And I'm here to tell you guys that the victim did indeed die. So she's going to talk about manners of death. We're going to watch that a little bit. There's 5 manners of death: natural death, homicide, suicide, accident, and undetermined. But then there's also a different thing called cause of death: blunt impact, gunshots. What caused the death? Now, in this case, the coroner is unable to determine the manner of that. So she doesn't say it's a homicide. She doesn't say it is an accident. She doesn't say it's a natural cause. She just says undetermined. But the cause of death in this case is a blunt impact injury to the head and hypothermia. So we are going to see, we're not going to see here in this channel, but we definitely have seen a picture of the blunt impact injury to the back of the head of John O'Keefe. It's like a gash. So it could have been, and this is one of the things she's going to have to say, it could have been anything. Could have been, they're going to talk about the laceration on the upper side of his eye, and it's going to say could have been a punch. Yeah, it could have been a punch. The trauma in the back of the head could have been the snow, the hard ground, the snow. Sure. Could have been like a rock. Yes. So this is what I'm talking about today, guys. The definition of reasonable doubt in this case happened this week, where the coroner is saying, I couldn't determine homicide. I couldn't determine the manner. I just said the cause was a blunt trauma to the head and hypothermia because he was found in the snow, because they told me the body was found in the snow and it was there all night. That's what she's going to talk about. And we don't know what happened. It could have been a number of different things. So this is the definition of reasonable doubt. Where all mad here says she failed the first test. She didn't even know it was human hair. Oh, we're talking about Maureen. That's fine. She had to be reprimanded and had to take her class again. I don't believe a word she says. Okay, so yes, Maureen, the scientist we were just talking about before, the coroner here, failed some type of test. People are talking about it on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I love her name. That is probably the coolest I've ever seen. Who? Dr. Scorabello or Maureen? Queen Olive says, Hanky Brennan. So if you don't know, Hank Brennan is the prosecutor's name. We don't like him here. Hanky has another ME that is supposed to testify too, when I assume he's paid to testify the way he wants. I believe the person that Hank has coming in to testify is going to be a neurologist, okay, because there was a lot of motions, pre-trial motions about this neurologist coming to testify. But the defense has already prepared the ground by asking this witness, our beautiful Dr. Scorabello, because she does a great job testifying, even though she's testified for the prosecution. He asks her, do you think a neurologist could perform an autopsy? And she's like, do you think a surgeon could perform an autopsy? Do you think a cardiologist could perform an autopsy? And Dr. Scorabello tells the defense, listen, I've had specific training for autopsies. Like, you know, I've been in pathology since I started my career. I believe the neurologist is trained for his profession, his side of things. Like, I'm not going to go perform brain surgery, but he's not going to come in here and talk about my autopsy either. That's pretty much what the defense wanted to do with her. So let's take a look at Dr. Scorabello talking about the manners of death. Let me share real quick so that you guys can watch what I'm watching, and then we can go from there. Okay, hold on. Remove this, add this. So many buttons, so many things. Let's go, doctor.
Quickly, but if you could just check me on this. The 5 main categories of manner of death. So you talked about natural causes, correct?
Yes.
You talked about accident.
Correct.
You talked about suicide. You talked about homicide. And then the last category, undetermined. Do I have that correct?
Yes, you do.
So
Did I read that right? Did I read that right?
On the undetermined category. And my understanding is, doctor, that that's where you landed. That's where you concluded with regard to manner of death of Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
Correct.
So undetermined is a term that is used and that you use. And does that mean that when the information pointing to one manner is not more compelling than other reasonable possibilities, or the death investigation lacks sufficient information to opine on a manner of death, at the time of death, the certificate is signed? Is that generally correct?
Yes.
So as we've talked about, I'm just trying to follow or just develop some logic and see if this is in agreement with you, that as a medical examiner, you're specifically tasked with conducting that medical legal investigation. And what we've just talked about is a bit of the method of analysis that you go through for that, correct?
I conduct the autopsy and I request information information from the investigative body that is out there investigating the other aspect of the case, not the body itself.
Yes. So is it correct that there's 4 general components to a forensic pathologist death investigation? Is scene investigation one of the components?
It depends on the jurisdiction where you practice. Scene investigation is part of forensic pathology in certain jurisdictions, and it is the responsibility of the district attorney and law enforcement in other jurisdictions. In the state of Massachusetts, we are responsible for the autopsy, and the DA's office and law enforcement are responsible for the scene investigation.
Excellent. So scene investigation in the state of Massachusetts is not within your domain in the office of the medical examiner. That is the domain of the district attorney and law enforcement, correct?
Correct.
How about another aspect, forensic autopsy and laboratory testing? That's within your domain, correct?
Correct.
And how about police reports and witness statements?
That is not under my
She's like, I do autopsies.
jurisdiction.
I'm a
That
doctor.
is under the district.
Like, the reason why I'm in pathology and autopsies is because I don't want to hear what people have to say. I just want to do my job, do my work, my scientific approach, and that's it.
Attorney's office and the police.
Do you?
Okay, so let me go back to let me go now to another part of her testimony. She talks about the manners of death,
Duration.
cause of death.
Did you perform a differential diagnosis as to the cause of the death and question whether there was hypothermia as any cause of the death of the decedent? Did you make that analysis?
I looked at the anatomic findings that I had at the time of autopsy, the information that was provided to me based on the circumstances and where the body was found. And I came to the conclusion.
So she's saying, based on the information I was provided, based on where the body was found. So one of the is it cause or manner? Okay, cause. One of the causes of death she found in her report was hypothermia. The defense is saying it's possible, okay, the defense's theory is it's possible that John O'Keefe was killed somewhere else. Let's say he was killed inside the house where they were having the party by either the German Shepherd dog or by Brian Higgins and Brian Albert, by a fight, or they threw a punch or a rock or something behind his head. That's what the defense is trying to present as a third-party culprit defense, right? Somebody else did it. It wasn't my client. It was this person. They have to actually say who it was in a third-party culprit defense. So they're trying to say the body was moved. Therefore, hypothermia was not the cause of death. So this is why now the defense attorney Alessi is questioning the coroner in his cross-examination, saying, well, how did you come up with the hypothermia? Did you take into consideration that the officers, the police officers that we think are involved in covering this up, did you take into consideration that they are the ones saying they found the body in the snow, and the snow was the body was there all night? Because remember, guys, the police officers are saying to all these experts, all these professionals, the forensic lab scientists, the coroner, they're telling them, listen, the body was found in the snow. The defendant hit him at 12:30 a.m. or something like that. And then he was there all night long, all night long. But the defense doesn't believe that. One of the small reasons they don't believe that is because the plow driver, the guy who drives a big truck with huge lighting to go plow the snow in situations like this night that was having a huge snow, he said he drove by the house at 2:30 in the morning and there was nobody there, nobody in the snow. Then he drove again at 3:30 in the morning. There was nobody there. There was what? There was a car there, a Ford Edge belonging to the owner of the house by the flag where the body was found at 3:30 in the morning. That was there, but there was nobody there. So the defense doesn't believe that John O'Keefe was there all night long, and that's why they're questioning the coroner about this hypothermia findings. Could it have been something else? Now, Clayton John. Hi, Clayton. I'm so glad that you're here. I think you found me at the Young Jerks channel the other day when I was there, and I am so grateful that you came to our channel here. Doc, since we got you here, can you please let Bev know there's something fishy about that cell reports? Something may have died in there. We saw apparitions. We saw ghosts. We saw anomalies. Anomalies? That's how you say it? We saw things happening. We saw videos being skipped. We saw inverted videos. We saw police being inverted. We saw so many different things. And Judge Bev has no interest in investigating anything. I apologize for that, Clayton John. She's not interested in knowing what really happened. She seems to have an agenda to protect the prosecution in this case. She has two manners of dealing with motions, with people, with objections. One way is how she talks to the defense. The other way is how she talks to the prosecution. We're going to see some of that today when we talk about the motions at the end. Ask Bob. The so-called crime of the century is actually the persecution of Karen Read. Ain't that right? Everybody against the girl, the outsider, the girl. We're all mad here. I think the defense is going to say John was in the garage before he was moved, right? Because also no frostbite. We saw everything but proof, right? So let's see how she answers the question about hypothermia here.
That there were hypothermic changes in Mr. O'Keefe's body.
So you just used the phrase hypothermic changes. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
Can there be hypothermic changes without a cause of death being hypothermia?
Yes, of course.
So you can have signs in the body of hypothermia, but you can also conclude that a cause of death is not from hypothermia, correct?
If the person is deceased and I am examining the body and there are multiple things that I believe contribute to the death, then I tend to include all of them. Meaning that if this was a drug intoxication and the body also showed signs of hypothermia, I would include both of them on the death certificate because there is no scientific way of teasing out whether it was just one or the other or both. In this particular case, I had two processes that were going on. One was the head trauma.
Okay.
And the other one were these hypothermic changes. I put all that together and again, included or took into account the investigative information of where the body was found, what the temperature was when the body was found, whether the person was still alive or not. And I came to the conclusion that the cause of death was blunt impact injuries of head. And I included the hypothermia because I saw during the autopsy that there were changes consistent with hypothermia.
Okay, I'm confused. If anybody knows, I don't know if Alessa is going to ask this, but one thing I don't understand, sure, she saw things consistent with the hypothermia. She was told he was found in the snow. That makes sense. But can anybody help me understand why is she talking about hypothermic changes? If she only had the body at a certain time, how would she be able to observe hypothermic changes? This may be something that Aless is going to ask. So we're going to watch a little bit more of this video. Let's see if he addresses this.
I want to break that down a little bit. If I
Please,
could, with
Alessi,
you.
help me out.
You testified on direct, and I think you alluded to it here, that the primary cause of that, use that phraseology on direct, was blunt force injury. Is that correct?
Blunt impact injuries to the head, yes.
Blunt impact injuries to the head, and that's the primary cause, right?
Correct.
And then and I'm not clear on what you referred to on direct as a secondary cause of death of hypothermia, but you used a little different phrase in some of your answers, and I want to make sure I got it right. Hypothermic considerations, can you repeat what it was?
It said hypothermic changes.
Hypothermic changes, and we agree that you can have hypothermic changes without a conclusion of hypothermia, correct?
No, hypothermic changes are what I'm referring to are actual things that I can see in the organs that are consistent with hypothermia. They're anatomic findings. They're things I can see with my eyes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, did you finish?
And
no,
those changes suggest and are consistent with someone being hypothermic.
What?
As you sit here.
What? Okay, let me read this. Maybe Leanne, so sorry, not sorry, can help me understand. What the heck are we talking about? It's because the changes weren't as pronounced as they would normally be. And the changes she saw could also be consistent with alcohol abuse, which also ties into the medication he was taking, ulcers. Okay, the ulcer thing, I do remember, I think we do have a clip of that, stomach or pancreatic ulcers that have something to do with the alcohol and the medication he was taking, olaprazole, the medication for, yeah, you got, what is the name of it? Okay, so I understand that part. What I don't understand is what kind of observations, what could she see in the body that would indicate hypothermic changes? I understand she could see hypothermia, like Alessi is saying, omeprazole. Thank you. I love Leanne. Leanne is always here to save me. Thank you so much. Omeprazole. And I'm probably mispronouncing that, but that's okay. All right, so that's fine. I don't know what, let me see if she says anything else here about this subject. So I'm curious now.
With regard to, you used the phraseology consistent with hypothermia, signs of hypothermia. That's what I want to pursue just a little bit.
I'm Googling this.
With regard to further
signs of
information.
hypothermic changes in the body.
We got started on this by asking whether you used the concept of different.
Okay, I think they're going to change the subject. So Google is telling me things that are not going to be helpful to us because this is for somebody who is alive. Early signs include shivering, hypothermia, shivering, confusion, fatigue, drowsy, slurred speech, memory loss. Okay, but in a dead body, deceased body, okay, hypothermic death, a body will display several key signs. These include pale or pinkish skin, post-mortem hypostasis, a lack of normal rigor mortis, and potential okay, they're going to talk about that. Winsknewski spots, small hemorrhages in the stomach lining. Other indicative findings can include soft clots in the heart and blood vessels and possibly a lack of lung edema. Okay, so now I understand how the two subjects coincide. Like they're going to talk about the ulcers, and that would be what she's referring to. Leanne is saying the ulcers happen as a result of temperature changes, stress on the body. Okay, So that's what she's saying. The ulcers happen as a result of temperature changes. So that's what she is considering the hypothermic changes. Now, Alessia is going to combat her saying, no, but did you know that he was also taking omeprazole for this, and that could cause ulcers because of alcohol nausea? I don't know. Look at mucosa changes, gastric hypothermia. Yes, the Wisniewski spots are the ulcers. Okay, so let's see the clip where they're talking about the ulcers. Okay, I'm gonna go straight to that clip, and then I have to go backwards because I was gonna clip something else now. But hold on. Let's see what they're gonna say, because they're much better explaining this than I am. Hold on, let me just share this tab. There you go. Go ahead, doctor. Please tell us. Clerk, too cute by half. But, okay, you want me to say that really?
Yes.
Pathognomonic.
May I?
Yes.
Dr. Scordi-Bello, may I stand by the witness there?
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Scordi-Bello, I am providing you with a document. Up at the top it says John O'Keefe, and I would like to draw your attention to medications. And to expedite it, I am going to focus on the fourth item.
I think I'm going to make him a little quicker on this.
Can you state what that medication is?
The fourth item is omeprazole.
Omeprazole.
Does that refresh your recollection as to one of the medications Mr. O'Keefe is on?
Yes.
Sure.
And that medication is?
It's an antacid.
Right. And so omeprazole is the trade name of omeprazole Pepsid?
I believe so.
And Pepsid is a proton pump inhibitor?
Correct.
And a proton pump inhibitor stops the proton pump in the stomach from releasing acid, correct?
Yes.
And we're going to come back to that in just a moment, but do you also recall testifying at the grand jury with regard to alcohol consumption and potential alcohol consumption of Mr. O'Keefe?
I do remember testifying, yes.
And do you recall what your testimony was with regard to alcohol consumption and small ulcers in the stomach potentially associated with alcohol consumption?
Alcohol consumption, I don't recall my exact words at grand jury, but alcohol consumption can lead to gastric ulcers.
And alcohol consumption can lead to gastric ulcers.
A lot of alcohol in this house.
And what medications can treat gastric ulcers?
Well, they don't treat them, they prevent them, but that would be a proton pump inhibitor such as omeprazole.
Right. So, isn't it correct, therefore, that the ulcers that are observed in the stomach of Mr. O'Keefe that we talked about, the gastric mucosa, could have come from ulceration due to alcohol consumption?
It's possible.
As opposed to hypothermia, correct?
Correct.
So in that case, what would be the cause of death? A blunt. Let me go back. I don't want to misquote her. The cause of death, if there is no hypothermia, would have been just the blunt impact to the head. Blunt impact to the head, which could have been what? Could have been a rock, could have been a whatever. It could have been a dumbbell from the gym. They had a whole gym in the garage. Another thing she says is no evidence of impact site on his body per car hitting him. No bones or bruises. Nothing in the lower extremities of his body, which is very common with a car collision. She talks about the eyelid laceration could not be caused by falling backwards and hitting the head. So if you guys were here last year, you remember when Trooper Paul, the accident reconstructionist who was a disaster as a witness, poor guy, he said that the victim could have fell backwards and then he did a maneuver. He rotated his body. He hit the head. He had the phone behind. Everything happened in a matter of seconds. So the eyelid laceration could not have been caused by that. So the defense is just, again, bringing more and more. Poor Paul. Paul, Trooper Paul, man, Trooper Paul. He was hilarious, and it was hard. It was like some witnesses, they are so like mischievous and condescending and aggressive and all of the things that I want to see them go down. I'm like, yeah, get him. But Trooper Paul, I kind of felt sorry for him. I was like, oh, poor guy, he's sweating over there. Jeff C said, just found your channel from Jerks podcast. Great reads by you. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're here. We have a great chat here in our lives as well. Everybody participates. We're all mad here. Says, I really think she wanted to help Karen. Her hands are kind of tied. I think she's being as straightforward as she can. She's testifying very professionally. She's telling us what she found, what she had, what she based the evidence on. And her hypothermia theory has to do with how the officers reported to her the body was found. So she's just being honest. There's nothing wrong with that. In this case, yeah, we know the officers have a lot of red flags, but she doesn't know that. In the beginning, she's just going by the information she's being provided. And this is a comment Ask Bob had written a few minutes ago. JENNIFERMACABE says she left 34 Fairview at 1:45 a.m. with her hubby, Levinson and Nagel. They saw no body. Lucky Plows at 2:30 a.m. and saw no body. Karen connected to her home Wi-Fi at 12:36 a.m. Case close. And that's how we're here. Why are we here still? Why are we doing Karen Read again? Why? There's like so much, Ask Bob, alcohol is poison. No alcohol. John is alive and Karen is free. Absolutely, guys. Absolutely. If you have a problem drinking, please seek help, because it's not normal to drink as much as these people are drinking. These people are drinking a lot, and I'm not here to judge. I don't drink anymore. But seriously, if you can't just have like one or two and just be okay with it, these people were living to drink. It was like, let's drink here, then we're going to drink there, and then we're going to go to the house and drink more after Brian Higgins and Brian Albert had already drank all day in the funeral they were at. So no alcohol, none of this would have happened. None. People would have made better decisions. Make better decisions. We're all mad here. Last year, she was scared, in my opinion. Ask Bob, Jeff, that Jeep stuff confuses me too. Leanne, so sorry, not sorry. I like this doctor. She's just straightforward, and I respect she wouldn't be bullied. Correct. That's right. She's like, oh, you're calling me for what? I gave you guys my determination. That is the $1 million question. What is the $1 million question? What are you guys talking about? The Jeep? What do you mean by physics? Okay, so, oh, you mean Trooper Paul. Trooper Paul said, what do you mean by physics? Okay, so another thing she said when the attorney asked why we're still here. Why are we here? Why are we doing Karen Read again? What is happening? I can't believe we're here again. So another thing she said that was very interesting was that when the attorney asked her, well, could have been the eye, laceration could have been from a punch. And she's like, yeah, it could have been from a punch. So it could have been many things, which is the definition of reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt. So I have a few more clips from her. Okay, so this is another clip I wanted to show when they're talking about other manners of death. Hold on. I want to make sure I am sharing the right screen with you. That's not the screen. This is the screen. Okay, very good. Let's go.
Did you look at, if any, for the cause or manner of death of Mr. O'Keefe?
I'll allow that question. What, if any?
At the time of the autopsy, I documented injuries and signs of hypothermia. I was provided with a set of
Signs
circumstances.
of hypothermia, signs.
And at the end of the investigation, or at the end of, my timeline, I concluded on the cause, but I did not conclude, or I did not determine a manner. The manner would be the circumstances you are speaking about, whether I considered other causes or circumstances. That's not how it works. I don't come up with hypothetical scenarios on how those injuries occur. I try to state the injuries, describe the injuries, state the cause of death and why that person died. And then I use all kinds of other investigative information that is provided to me to determine if I have enough to make a determination on the manner.
Did anyone provide to you any alternatives as to the finding of the body of Mr. O'Keefe in the snow?
Personally, to me, no.
Did you ask for any alternatives to the nature and location of the injury or death of Mr. O'Keefe?
I asked for all the information that was available.
Understood, but my question is, did you ask for any alternatives to the information that was provided to you as regards the location of the injuries? Did anyone provide you any alternatives to where the injuries could have occurred?
No.
So
I'm going to
Yeah, because I don't know about this question. Let's see what the judge
answer
says.
stand. So the answer is no. So there's no evidence of that. So next question.
So you talked about the information you had.
She has great faces, by the way. I just didn't want to do a body language on her, but she has great facial expressions. Clerk Too Cute by Half says, whatever network is pulling strings behind the scene, whoever is being protected, what is the purpose of allowing it to play out in a way that showcases blatant corruption? I think that is just the culture. Let's say they do have corruption, which I don't have any proof of myself, 100%. But let's say there is corruption. I believe that these people involved in the possible corruption, they live under a culture for many years where one protects the other and they don't have a fear of accountability. This conclusion I gather by watching Trooper Bukhenik testify, like there's no issue with anything that happened. Like, no, we don't keep reports. That would be redundant. No, we didn't do that. No, we didn't interrogate. And then the other guy, Gallagher, who is my least favorite, he's like, no, we didn't ask for a warrant. I know what warrants are for. No, kind of like I'm the judge. I'm the one that makes the decisions here. I don't follow protocol. I don't have to. So I don't know. Jeff says, would it be cool to see Bianca break down JENNIFERMACABE when she's talking about the Jeep? Guys, I have so many videos on JENNIFERMACABE. I'm not sure if I talked about the Jeep, but please check out JENNIFERMACABE's videos. I have a KarenReadtrial playlist in the channel, and then I have a KarenReadtrial playlist, and JENNIFERMACABE is the main character of them. Leanne says, her face to me shows she's honest. I think that's human. That's how humans read each other, just generally. LOL. I 100% agree with you. And that's what I always say, right? Even when we don't know anything about body language or facial expressions, when we meet someone or when we listen to someone speak, we can tell if they're genuine or not. We can tell if they're honest or not. We just have that gut feeling, I feel good about this, or I have there's something off about this person kind of feeling afterwards. And for her, that's why I didn't even go to micro expressions with her, because I'm just taking her testimony for what it is as face value. I do believe she's being honest as well. She's a very professional scientist. The red flags in her testimony are not her fault. She's just saying, listen, I was provided this police report. I was provided this information. They told me the body was there all night. So she's taking that into account because we expect other professionals to be professionals. We expect them to have ethics. We're not expecting the cops to be lying to the doctor. So I do take her testimony at face value as well. Clerk 2Q by half says, I agree, they are brazen as if they think they know there will be no accountability. 100%. Lucinda says, yes, they have 4 generations of officers. They ran the town, the old boys club. Somebody called it in, I think it was in a text message or something. So, somebody in this case said something about the circle of trust. Or maybe did I make that up? Maybe I made that up. I don't know. But there's like a circle of trust culture. You know, if you're not in this circle, you're an outsider. Rick says, me to gut feeling, thanks. Yes, absolutely. It's just, we all have that. We all have that intuition, guys. Okay, so this was the attorney asking her if she considered any other manners of death. And she said no.
Traumatic.
Now we're going to talk about, okay, we're going to talk about something very important that has to do with what the motion at the end is all about. Oh, Jen said circle of trust. Thank you, Leanne, because I was thinking, did I make that up? I don't think I made that up. But I have it in one of my thumbnails, so I'm like, I got this from somewhere. So they're going to talk about the phone and the inability or the cognitive function of his brain after a certain injury. So let's watch this part.
State what you phrase that as, because I want to use your phraseology.
Blunt impact injuries of the head.
So blunt impact injuries of the
hi,
head.
Otto. Okay,
is it fair to
that's
say
fine.
that was
Love you. Thank you for being
very
here.
severe injury?
It was a severe injury, correct?
And would Mr. O'Keefe had been rendered unconscious nearly instantaneously with death following shortly thereafter?
It's very possible, yes.
I'm going to watch it a little faster.
Is it more than possible? Is it probable that that's what would have occurred?
I can't tell you how quickly he would have been rendered unconscious, but at some point after that injury, yes, he would have been rendered unconscious.
Is it possible he could have been rendered unconscious immediately?
So she's answered it this way. I think you need another person for that. Let's move on from that, Mr. Lessing.
Why does he have to move on, Judge? Why does he have to move on from every important matter? Okay, this is a very important matter because after John O'Keefe, supposedly after the prosecution saying Karen Read hit him, I don't know, after 12:30 a.m., they keep changing the time, right? After that, his phone shows facial recognition. Somebody read a text message, then somebody locked the phone. So these are activities that happen on the phone. The defense has the right to know if he had this blunt impact, could he have just been unable to perform any cognitive functions right there and then? Or was he still alive? For how long? This is the doctor. She has the ability to answer this question. So the judge continues to block the defense in asking pertinent questions. She has no basis for not allowing Alessi. Why is she not allowing Alessi to ask these questions? If she doesn't know, she can say, I don't know. But the judge's like, no.
You made your own determination
You don't
of
get
the
to
cause
ask.
of death, correct?
Yes, that's my job.
Understood. And what I want to do is to pursue the basis of your determination. So you used the phrase brain impact injury.
Blunt impact.
Blunt impact injury. Did I get that correct?
Blunt impact injuries of head, yes.
Of head, right. And that's your conclusion, correct?
Yes.
Based upon your conclusion, did you make any determination as to whether the decedent would be able to carry out any purposeful movement after that injury?
Define purposeful movement.
Sure. I'm talking about the ability to
reading a
perhaps
text
manipulate their hands.
message.
I don't know.
Did you make any determination as to whether they would be able to engage in any cognitive functions, meaning processing things and making decisions?
I did not make that determination, no.
Did you observe any pattern to the injuries to the head of the decedent?
A pattern? I observed that there were injuries to the back of the head as well as other internal injuries to the base of the skull, as well as the brain.
Your Honor, if we could please publish, I'm just going to check to make sure they're in. If we could, Your Honor, publish 160 that is in evidence, but before.
Okay, I think that went a little bit longer than I was supposed to, but that's okay. I just wanted to, okay, wait, let me see. Hold on.
We do, Mr. Wolf, I would like to approach Your Honor and let you know in case there's anything further that needs to be done. Thank you.
You're gonna go sidebar, okay?
Dr. Scordi-Bello, if you could please draw your attention to what is depicted on both.
Judge, stop making facial expressions, Judge. Please. No facial expressions.
Screens, pick whatever screen is most convenient for you. And what I want to do is to go over what is depicted there. And I'd like to start with just some basics. What is that white rectangle that is on the photograph?
Okay, I don't know if they're going to show the photograph, but I cannot show it here. They're just going to go to another subject. So the other thing I wanted to show is when Alessia is going to ask her about stones and rocks.
Correct.
Sustained in that form.
What, if any, consideration did you make in your assessment of cause and manner of death with regard to stones or rocks?
I did not make any.
With regard to any other potential causes other than ground, did you consider any other possibilities that could cause the type of injuries that are depicted on the screen?
There's a number of possibilities that could cause the injury.
My question is, did you consider, not whether there are, but whether you considered them at the time you were performing the autopsy?
I'm always considering at the time of autopsy what could have caused a certain injury.
Did you put in your notes or your autopsy report any of those considerations? Are they documented?
No.
Now, in terms of differential diagnosis that we talked about, did you determine whether there were any other possible explanations for the injuries to the decedent other than what law enforcement presented to you?
I'll allow that.
Internally, I consider all kinds of other explanations. I have to look at the findings and the possible ways that those injuries could have been sustained and decide whether I have enough information and whether I'm satisfied with the information that I have in order to conclude or determine the manner.
Did you make any notes at all about the considerations you were just speaking about, other considerations, any notes whatsoever in any document in your autopsy report?
Not in my autopsy report, no.
Did you make any other notes of those considerations in any document that you created for this case at all?
No, these are considerations that I've had in discussions
Does
I've
it
had
have
with
to?
Colleagues in terms of evaluating these injuries.
And I don't want you to go into what other people say.
All right, let's relax. Relax,
Right,
Alessia.
no, I did not make physical notes of my considerations.
Don't be mean to the doctor, Alessia. We love you so much, but don't be mean to the doctor. That makes sense. Her answer to me makes sense. She's saying, yes, I think about stuff. Like I consider all the options, but I don't have to write everything I think about in my autopsy report. I write my findings there. So there's no reason for all that. But anyway, so what can we get? What do we take from the coroner's testimony? We take so much, right? Undetermined manner of death. The laceration in the eye could have been a punch. The laceration, the blunt force to the back, that was the cause of the death. That's what caused him to die. So what caused that? Are you saying the car caused that? Or that when she hit him, he fell into the snow and was it a dumbbell? Was it a rock? It could have been anything. That's reasonable doubt right there. We're still thinking, creating possibilities in our minds. And that is probably what the jury is doing after listening to this testimony. Like, could have been this, could have been a rock, could have been this, could have been that. That is reasonable doubts, right? Another big one for her testimony was that she says, when there's a car collision, it is common to observe fractures, bones, bruises in the lower extremity of the body. And there was none in this case. We're all mad here saying there was no collusion. So that's it, reasonable doubt. Could have been anything. And now we're going to go talk about could have been anybody. Could have been anybody. So this guy, Andre Porto is going to talk about the DNA found. And we're just going to quickly watch a little bit of his testimony just so we don't say we didn't. It could have been anybody. It could have been anything. Let's take a look at Andre Portal.
Of taillight connected with this case, correct?
Let me check my other report.
Camilla, I'm invested. Yes, it's
For
very,
taillight,
very
there was
interesting.
another item that
this
was
case.
item 3-3.1, which was sample from apparent glass on rear bumper, if that's what you're referencing.
Okay, so if I suggested to you that the taillight was plastic, that glass wouldn't have been the taillight, correct?
I don't have, that's beyond my scope of testing.
Gotcha. Okay. With regard to
Okay, so taillight is plastic. They found little pieces of glass. So where did that glass come from?
the passenger side taillight, you found that there were 3 contributors of DNA to that taillight attached to the vehicle, correct?
Correct.
One of those contributors appeared to be John O'Keefe. Is that fair to say?
That's the
He was
victim.
included.
Sure.
With regard to the other 2 contributors, who were they?
They could be anybody.
Anybody, huh?
Were you ever asked to?
Could it be Brian Albert? It's possible. Could it be Brian Higgins? It's possible. Could it be Chloe the dog? Anything is possible.
Compare DNA samples from either Canton Police Detective Kevin Albert or Canton Police Chief Kenneth Berkowitz to the DNA profile that you
Love you, Yannetti.
analyzed from that
He's a
passenger side
stud.
taillight.
I was not.
Now, with regard to the broken
I'm surprised there was
drinking
no
glass,
objection
which is item 3-2.1.1. Do you see that in your report?
I do.
With regard to that, you came up with a DNA profile that also had 3 contributors, correct?
Correct.
One of those contributors appeared to be John O'Keefe, correct?
He was included, correct.
Who were the other 2 contributors?
I don't know. They could be anybody.
Anybody.
Were you ever asked with regard to that broken drinking glass to compare the DNA profile that you analyzed with the DNA of either Boston Police Sergeant Brian Albert or ATF agent Brian Higgins?
I was not.
Now, with regard
What
to
did she say about the objection? I think she just allowed it to happen because this is the theory of the defense. They are saying they believe Brian Albert, Brian Higgins did it. They had something to do with the covering up. Something happened. So did you guys look at their DNA? Did you guys test for their DNA? No, because the lead investigator, Michael Proctor, who was fired because of this case, didn't ask. He didn't ask for any of these tests to be done.
7.1.2.1, or maybe it's 7-1.2.1. That's the stain A from the upper right leg of the jeans.
Correct.
All right. And you were aware, you were told that those were the jeans that John O'Keefe was wearing on the morning in question when he was found?
Based on the sample description, that's what it seems.
All right. And it turned out that his DNA was on his own jeans, correct?
He was included in the profile.
And that was unsurprising to you, correct? And with
Why is there an objection? That's unsurprising. I mean, it was his pants, his DNA was in his pants. Wow. And I just want to say, I think the defense is doing an amazing job this year, showing us the importance of these unidentifiable DNA and the fact that, yes, of course, there's going to be DNA of John O'Keefe in the car. I mean, it was his girlfriend's car. She was at his house every day. Of course, there's going to be DNA in his pants. Of course, there's going to be DNA in his shirt. But who are these other people? Who are these other DNAs that we're finding? His shoes and his pants. And the guy's like, I don't know. It could have been anybody. I think it's emphasized and re-emphasized so well this time. Great job, Yannetti. Great job, Yannetti. Love you. We're all mad, he says. They had been out to several public places. He could have anybody's on him. Rick says, rest in peace, Chloe. No, nothing bad ever happens. Nothing bad ever happens. Leanne, I'll let that stand. I have amazing ears. That's what the judge said. I am telling you, Leanne, you should be my co whatever this is, doing this with me because you helped me so much. Wow. We're all mad here because of the word surprising. So that's the objection. Was it surprising to you? So what is that, like argumentative? I guess, objection, argumentative. Queen Olive, switching to phone to take pup for a walk. Nice, Queen Olive. I love it. I'm going to take Whisper probably to the park later after this live. Ew, DNA where? Okay, so DNA. Okay, so let's finish with this guy.
regard to that item, you found that there were 3 contributors of DNA, correct?
Correct.
with John O'Keefe being one of them.
He was included in the profile, yes.
And who were the other two?
I don't know. They could be anybody.
Let's move on to stain B, also from the upper right leg of the jeans. That is 7-1.3.1. You see that in your report?
I do.
When you found a DNA profile, how many contributors of DNA were there?
3 contributors.
All right. And again, this was John O'Keefe's genes, correct?
Based on the description, yes.
So he was one of the 3 contributors.
He was included in the profile, yeah.
Who were the other
great.
2?
I don't know. They could be anybody.
Anybody, huh?
Moving on to stain
Reasonable
C
doubt.
from the upper right leg of the jeans. 7-1.4.1. You see that in your report?
I do.
With regard to the DNA profile that you analyzed there, how many contributors of DNA were there to that profile?
At least 2, and it was interpreted as 2 contributors.
Ooh.
And again, it's the same pair of genes that he was found in, correct?
Based on the description, yes.
And you said at least 2 contributors. It actually could have been more than 2.
Based on our protocols, I had to call it 2, and we determined it as 2, but it could be more than 2, yes.
Okay. Well, let's pay attention to the one that was not John O'Keefe, at least that one. Who contributed that DNA to his pants?
I don't know. It could be anybody.
Moving on to stain
huh?
D, which is 7-1.5.1. And if I can just put my glasses on to
You
make
too,
sure
Eric.
I've read my
Rick,
own writing correctly. Actually, is it 7-15-1? Did I get that wrong the first time?
D?
I'm sorry?
Stain D.
Stain D.
Stain D is 7-1.5.1.
Oh, I had it right the first time. Okay. With regard to that stain, you also got a DNA profile. And how many contributors were there to that DNA profile?
I interpret it as 3 contributors.
3.
And again, this is John O'Keefe's genes, correct?
Correct.
He was one of the contributors to his own genes, correct?
He was included in the profile.
And with regard to that stain on the upper right leg of his genes, who contributed the DNA to the?
Who could it be?
Who were the other 2 contributors of DNA to that stain?
I don't know. They could be anybody.
Oh, wow. Okay, one thing I don't know if they did point out that I want to ask you guys if you know, maybe Leanne know, because Leanne knows all the facts. Did Yannetti emphasize that these were male DNAs? Because I don't recall that part. It wasn't female, so it couldn't have been Karen Reed or JENNIFERMACABE for doing the CPR. And the EMTs, like, did they check the EMTs? Were they wearing gloves? So Leanne, of course, Leanne knows that, yes, they did say it was male. So it was unidentifiable male DNAs. Very interesting. Who was it? Could have been anybody. I mean, seriously, case closed. This is all reasonable doubt. We don't need anything else. It's reasonable doubt. So after it could have been anybody guy, we had Ashley Valier, forensic scientist. She's the one that had the evidence that kept presenting itself. She received the evidence from February 8th, February 11th, February 18th, March, etc., that she gathered from the super troopers, Trooper Bukhenik and Trooper Proctor. She said the evidence, no, she didn't say that. The trooper said evidence just kept presenting itself. There was one part of the taillight that after she gathered all those taillight pieces that they gave to her, she put them together again, and there was one piece missing. Okay, so this is another subject right now. But look at that. That's Brennan, the prosecutor, when he was talking to Dr. Wolf, Crash Daddy. And this is the judge wearing a witch hat. I'll allow it. Leanne is saying, no, the only DNA they compared to the police was Proctor's and Bukhenik. So are you saying that they did test all the DNAs that they're talking about now in the jeans, in the shirt, in the shoes? They compared those to Proctor and Bukhenik. Okay, but they did not compare it to Brian Higgins, to Brian Albert, etc., etc. So I just want to play a little bit of Ashley Valier's testimony as well. Let me go back here and put her video on.
You can help.
Okay. So submission 7, all the items that are 7- was submitted by Trooper Michael Proctor.
Were you aware of the date of the incident that gave rise to this case?
Yes.
And what was that date?
January 29th, 2022.
Were you aware that the clothing that you received was seized from the Good Samaritan Hospital that very day?
No.
What date was the clothing brought to your lab?
March 14th, 2022.
So that means that your chain of custody at the lab began on March 14th of 2022, correct?
Yes.
And would you agree with me that was about 6 weeks after the date of the incident, January 29th of 2022?
Yes.
And of course, you can't speak to the chain of custody from January 29th to March 14th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
And you have no information and do not know why Michael Proctor waited 6 weeks to bring this clothing to your lab, do you?
Sustained.
Do you know where Michael Proctor stored this clothing during that 6-week
In
period?
his bedroom.
Do you know how often he was alone with access to the clothing during that 6-week period?
How often was Michael Proctor alone with the clothes? He's such a creep. Like, dude, why are you holding on to somebody who is deceased? Why are you holding on to his clothes from the hospital? Like, just give it to the lab.
Do you know if he had access to pieces of red or clear taillight during that 6-week period?
Sustained. Move on, Mr. Yanni.
Oh, this freaking judge, man. Stop making look at her face. Let's look at the judge's face. Look, chin jut, aggression. So she has a little aggressive side towards the defense. Why? We want to know. How long was Proctor alone with the clothes? What the hell was he doing with the deceased clothes in his bedroom or something? How long? Amanda Stander says, how long does it take for evidence to be handed in after a crime scene? Well, in this case, Amanda, it could take as long as it takes, if we have the time to turn it in. If we have the time. Because, we're very busy troopers here. Super troopers are very busy troopers. Rick says, where's the socks? Is he still sniffing them? It's so weird. Why are you holding on to somebody's deceased clothes? Somebody who is deceased. Why are you holding on to their clothes for 6 weeks? I have to picture it was in his bedroom the whole time. And look at the judge's face. She's just sustaining everything.
You were not present when the clothing was seized, correct?
Correct.
Don't make faces, Judge. Do not have expressions. You know who she always reminds me of because of the nose is the one from Harry Potter. I think his name is Voldemort. The one that you can't say the name because of her nose. Let me see. Hold on. I know I'm terrible. I'm a child. Harry Potter. Voldemort. What's the name? Oh gosh, he's very ugly. So his face, I don't know why, reminds me of the judge because of the nose. I don't want to say his name, Camilla. I already did. Ha ha ha. She reminds me of Miss Piggy. I've had that comment before, Leanne. Let me put Miss Piggy here. And you guys can vote. Who does the judge remind you of? The one that can't be named or Miss Piggy? So she's making faces and then she's going to tell the jury they can't express themselves with faces when they're hearing the police use solo cups to collect evidence.
You do not have custody of this clothing from January 29th of 2022 to March 14th of 2022.
Objection.
Correct?
Correct.
You do not know what was done with the clothing before it arrived at your lab, correct?
You covered this, Mr. Yanni.
No, we
One
didn't.
last question.
We want to know what was done with the clothing. Did you swap everything for Michael Proctor's stuff? Look, her tongue jut. I just got away with something, or I got caught. This is the judge's face. Miss Piggy doesn't deserve that, y'all. Maybe she's a mixture, a mixture of the both of them. No, nobody remembers the one that can't be named. Seriously, is it just me? I don't know why. Every time I look at her nose, I think that.
Not vouch for how the clothing or taillight pieces were handled before they got to your lab, correct?
Sustained.
I cannot.
All right. Enough of that. So we are going to close soon, but not right now. We have a motion to talk about, and then we're going to have a little bit more of a Trooper Bukhenik's body language video that I left for the end here. But before we do that, let's watch the motion. Everybody knows. And if you don't know, I'll tell you right now because I'm here for you guys to know what I know. So the defense has these beautiful, wonderful, what are they? Engineers, mechanical engineers from ARCA. Do you see how far away the mic is? Whose mic? My mic? The judge's mic? I don't know. I don't know whose mic. Sheila. I'm so like lost in all the screens and all the notes. There's so much going on right now. But anyway, so ARCA is a company that is being, the judge's mic. Oh yeah, she moves the mic all the time. She go like very loudly. She's like takes it. Anyways, ARCA is hired by the defense, right? They came in last year. They were witnesses for the, okay, this is going to be, let me try to explain. Everybody knows already, but if you don't know, I'm going to try my best. Okay. Who is ARCA? ARCA is a company. They were hired by the FBI because the FBI last year was doing an investigation, the investigation of this case. The FBI was not doing an investigation whether Karen Read should be charged or not, whether she should be a defendant or not. They were looking at the investigation. For some reason, the FBI was involved in that. They hired this company, ARCA. And ARCA has two crash daddies that are biomechanical engineers. So they understand the body, they understand mechanics, they understand car collisions, they are accident reconstructionists, they are very brilliant. And they came in to testify last year in a very limited basis because the defense couldn't get access to them, like, and talk to them and hire them because they were federal witnesses. They were federal experts, federal experts. So they had restrictions on hiring them. So they used the reports that both the defense and the prosecution had from ARCA, biomechanical engineers, Marsha. Right. So both the prosecution and the defense got their reports last year. The prosecution did not want to call them because guess what? They said there's no way this death was caused by a car. Just didn't happen that way. So the prosecution was like, shh, don't tell nobody. Shh, let's just continue prosecuting this lady and telling everybody she hit him with a car. Even though the biomechanical engineers don't say that to the FBI, right? But then the defense saw the report and was like, well, this is great for our case. Let's call these guys. We can't talk to them really. We just have to ask about their expertise, their experience, and then we're going to call them. We can't talk to them about their testimony. We can't hire them officially. And that's how it happened last year. However, the FBI investigation was concluded. It was over. And they were, oh, S. Bob, thank you so much. You gifted 5 memberships. I love it. Thank you so much. And Leanne is saying they're so cute too that it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt at all. It doesn't hurt at all. People actually do like to hear from people who are attractive. And Dr. Wolf is, oh, wow. Dr. Wolf is this guy here. Hold on. Why is this lady show? Okay. Dr. Wolf is this guy in the middle. So everybody was very happy to hear from Dr. Wolf. But 2025 comes in. The FBI is no longer involved. They're done with their investigation. So the defense is like, let's hire these guys. However, they had to wait until the FBI gave them the clearance. And that happened recently, 2 months ago. So then prosecutor Brannon, the guy that is saying, that is with the big teeth here in the screen, goes ballistic and says, Judge, this is an ambush. I don't know what they're going to do, what tests they're going to make, We need a voir dire, or we need to exclude them. And the judge is like, okay, let's do a voir dire. So they do a voir dire. They bring Crash Daddy in. Crash Daddy is super awesome and professional on the stand. And Brennan looks like a ridiculous person being completely unprofessional, talking to the doctor like he's nothing. Like Brennan was ridiculous. He made an idiot out of himself that day. The judge allowed the voir dire. But now, what do we have? Sallyport Ghosts, I love the name, says, good day, Bianca and chat. Good day to you, sir or madam Sallyport Ghosts. I love the name. Leanne, not sorry, says dimples. I know, he has dimples too, which don't hurt. None of this hurts, Let me look at the other one. The other, I think, what was his name? Okay, hold on. Karen Read, ARCA, witnesses. Let me just show you guys both doctors here because they're both very handsome and very, very qualified. Most importantly than all is that they're very qualified, above qualified, right? These are, remove this, add this. Okay, so these are both doctors here, the ARCA witnesses. We have Dr. Wolf, and I think his name is Ranchler. The other one is Dr. Ranchler. I'm pretty sure, but I can't find it right this second. So anyways, guys, long story short, right? After the judge allows the prosecution to question them, question Dr. Wolf, in a ridiculous manner, like he's nothing. Brandon was yelling at him, the prosecutor. It was a shame. So now what happens? The prosecution comes in and says, listen, judge, guess what? One of my experts saw my other experts' reports and he decided to change his testimony now. And he wants to add some stuff because we don't like what we have right now. Our case sucks. It's not strong enough at all. So we want to change our testimony from one of our experts. And then later, when ARCA testifies, we want to come back. And if they say something new, we want to come back again. And we just want to keep coming back because we don't really have a case here, judge. And the judge, the defense is like, no, judge, this is an ambush. This is like a violation. We can't just have them introduce new evidence. They had a deadline and now they can't do it. So we need at least a voir dire or something if you're going to think about considering this coming in, judge. But guess what? The judge lets it in. The judge doesn't allow voir dire. The judge is condescending, passive-aggressive, saying, Alessi, I have confidence that you can cross-examine them. I'm not going to let you do a voir dire because you know why? I let the prosecution do a voir dire, but you guys are the defense, and you should know I hate your guts. So we're going to watch the judge talk to both attorneys, right? She's going to give her findings, and guess what? We just have to like take it, you know, because the judge, she's the judge of this case, and it's shameful. And I thought she was doing better this year, but here she is. She's again having disparate treatment. So with that being said, I guess I'm ranting because I was very upset. I'm going to share this and let's hear from her. Where did it go? Why is it not sharing this? Why is it not sharing it? Oh, hold on. Okay, there you go. There you go. Let's hear from Judge Beverly Cannoni.
I appreciate the counsel provided me with the information. Mr. Alessi, I got the 2 reports that you had that were incorporated and what the Commonwealth had given me a few minutes before, but I appreciate that it was pointed out here. We've had full argument on this yesterday and today. My findings for the record are that the defendant has not persuaded me of undue surprise or unfair prejudice by this information, and I don't find that there's delayed disclosure. Of course.
What do you mean there's no delayed disclosure? It was just disclosed this week after the trial has started, you witch. Marsha says the later time of 12:32 doesn't help the Commonwealth, considering Karen connected to John O'Keefe's Wi-Fi at 12:36. So what is this new time? 12:32 is what? The time that supposedly Karen Read hit John O'Keefe? Okay, so Karen Read connected her cell phone to the Wi-Fi at John O'Keefe's house at 12:36 a.m. So these people all had activities after that. You know, like Ask Bob was saying, JENNIFERMACABE left at 1:30 a.m. Other people, you know, the plow driver was there 2:30 in the morning, 3:30. There was nobody there. So how is this even happening? Why are we here? If the phone connected to the Wi-Fi at 12:36, that means Karen Read was home at 12:36. People saw the lawn. Nobody saw a body. Something happened after that. So Sallyport Ghosts says Dr. Andrew Ranchler and Daniel Wolf, both PhD, ARCA, aka Crash Daddy. Crash Daddies is just a nice little nickname we all gave them because they're so cute. But hey, their expertise definitely comes first. Camila says true. Clerk 2 Cute by half says you're right. Disparate treatment. You guys will see. I think I have a few videos on the judge, but maybe I'll show you guys one of them and you will see the disparate treatment because I took hours to edit the videos, compile them together through all kinds of different motions, pre-trial motions last year, and you can see how rude she was to the defense. Leanne says, you explained that perfectly. I highly doubt that, Leanne, especially coming from you who knows all the facts. But I tried my best and I was mad. Ask Bob is saying Karen's fighting the entire government, the governor, the district attorney, the judge, the prosecutor, the Canton Police and the Massachusetts State Police. It's breathtaking. Absolutely. And ask Bob, I believe he is local. I believe he is over there in that area. And there is so much going on in Canton. They have these town halls, they have the community asking for change and trying to make a difference in the community, because the community is tired of watching these guys with this circle of trust just have the corruption after corruption after corruption occur and just have each other's back. And like a lot of people are saying, Karen Read is in a position where it could have been anybody. It could have been me visiting Canton, going to meet Ask Bob and saying, hey, Ask Bob, my friend, nice to meet you. We've been here since last year in the channel. Let me see your town. And then something happens. I get arrested, and these guys are in charge. This judge is in charge of doing whatever they want. As Bob says, I live 1 block from John O'Keefe's house in Canton, Massachusetts. Right. So she's going against a lot of people here. Camilla's saying, wow, teleport. Cell phones are atomic clocks synchronized, so the times are accurate. The corruption is massive, says As Bob. Rick says, yum, yum. Clerk 2 cute by half. Maybe more to add to the list in Vanity Fair. Karen said she's being framed by 4 law enforcement agencies. Unidentified co-conspirator. This is the worst ruling ever. This alone is reversible error if, God forbid, Karen is convicted. Yes, which I find very, very, very difficult to imagine that a jury would unanimously find her guilty of these 3 charges, including intentional homicide. But, it's definitely a big, big reversible error for the defense here. Jeff says, why test Yuri and Proctor DNA when Carr killed John O'Keefe and they were at the crime scene the next day? Why test Yuri and Proctor DNA when Carr killed? I don't think we wanted them to test Yuri and Proctor's DNA. I think we wanted them to test the unidentified DNA, male DNAs found in the clothing against Brian Albert and Brian Higgins. Think about that one, Jeff. Rick says, she's not guilty. I don't know the sounds you guys are making. I'm trying my best here to read the and so I don't know. I like that when I went to the Young Jerks show this week. I think it was Thursday. I don't know, but you guys should check it out. It was great. So we had a lot of fun. He called my channel Bianca because it's BiancaMMM. I always said BiancaMMM, but I liked it. Bianca. Kelly Cal says, yay, you're still live. I just panicked when I realized what time it was. LOL. Thank you, Kelly Cal, for being here. Yeah, I wanted to cover like a lot of what happened this week. Leanne says they were being used as a control. We're all mad here to rule them out from breaking it. To rule them out from breaking the taillight pieces. But still, wouldn't they have even if their DNA was found in the taillight pieces? I mean, I don't trust that they're wearing gloves all the time because they don't even keep logs. So I don't think that would be really that big of a deal. I don't know. Marsha. I think the 4 law enforcement agencies are going to be held liable legally when she is found not guilty. Perhaps that's why they're fighting so hard to make this stick. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, you can see it's like a circle of trust. It's like a little, little group, the judge, the troopers, no matter how badly they are unmasked, they continue having each other's back. So they might be afraid of the exposure that they are getting. Kelly Cal says, that kills me too. Why did they need to exclude Proctor and Yuri's DNA? They offer samples to exclude their DNA, but why would they need to do that? Right. We're all mad here. There should not be other people's DNA on that taillight. Kelly Cal, why not exclude people who were actually on the crime scene? As Bob, Brian Albert, and Higgins' DNA could be on the shoe. Why were DNA samples of them not tested? Yes, what I've heard is that they didn't give their DNAs, right? I don't know if they asked. Trooper Proctor didn't even ask Brian Albert what happened. Why didn't you come out of your house once you knew there was a dead cop in the snow on your lawn? You are a police officer, a detective. You don't care about a fallen officer literally fallen on your lawn? You couldn't give him CPR? So why would he even why would Proctor ask about the DNA, you know? Rick, me too. We're all mad here. True. Sallyport goes. Karen Reed worked at Fidelity Investments. She was very fortunate to have had the resources to start her fight, but continuing and finishing the fight are the most difficult part. Yeah, and I know that the Young Jerks channel does some fundraising, I believe, for her defense team and everything. So if you guys want to help, that is one way. We're all mad here. Look what they did to Richard A. They totally railroaded that guy. I didn't watch that. Kelly Cow, we have too many questions. I love that you guys are participating. That's why I'm here overtime today, because it's just fun to have the feedback from you guys. Sometimes I did these lives and I had like 2 people or 3 people watching. So it kind of like doesn't motivate me. But when you guys are here and talking, you know, and we're talking to each other, it's very fun for me. We're all mad here. 2 people gave their DNA, but I don't remember who. Sheila P., good to see you. Brian Albert must have something over the various departments, agencies. Yes, but I don't know if they need permission or if they need. Who would make the decision? The lead investigator. Who is the lead investigator? Proctor. What did Proctor say about the defendant? I hope she kills herself. So case closed. He's not going to ask for anybody's DNA. Unidentified co-conspirator. Defense tried to get Brian Albert and Brian Higgins' DNA, but was denied by King John Canoni. So funny. Okay, so let's go back to this response from the witch Canoni.
Of course, all of this is ample game for cross-examination. Certainly as to what Mr. Burgess knew, what he looked at, why he looked at it, when he looked at it, why he changed his report, and violation of the sequestration order is all for cross-examination, and I will give you a lot of leeway with that, Mr. Alessi, but I'm not having a voir dire on that. Mr. Alessi, I can tell you, obviously, you've got a great facility for cross-examining on the underlying information here.
Don't give him these fake ass, you know, trying to praise him. I don't have the word right now. Stop doing that, Judge. If you really respect him and if you really know that he's in the right, you rule accordingly. You don't rule against him and then say, but I know you're great at what you do. You'll be fine.
Done fulsome cross-examinations. I have every confidence you can do it here again.
Compliments.
But if after the direct, you demonstrate that
I'm
you
offended
need
by it.
further time, I'll certainly hear you on that.
I'll
and
hear
more
you.
Importantly, perhaps, if you feel that the testimony...
If you need more time, I'll hear you. And if you need to call JENNIFERMACABE back, I'll hear you. She's not saying you can. He already cross-examined these people about the timing. So now the prosecution is going to change their timing. And she's like, I'll hear you. I won't give a voir dire. I'll let them do whatever the heck they want. They can keep coming back. But you, I'll consider it.
Testimony of JENMACABE and the others that you've mentioned is critical and that you need to recall them. I'll hear you on that as well. So regarding Dr. Welcher, as my understanding, the request yesterday was for, and it's been a request, I think, a few days. We've addressed it at sidebar, and I found that it wasn't the right time. Let's see how much Dr. Welcher could go through. I understand Dr. Welcher will testify in the Commonwealth's case in chief next week or so, Mr. Brennan.
Hopefully next week, if not
All right.
the day after the holiday.
And that will be for all of the material that was provided to the defendant initially, right, by the Commonwealth's discovery deadline?
Correct.
And what you're asking for is that after ARCA testifies the new information, you're asking for rebuttal, right?
Yes, limited to the new information.
All right, so I would allow under these circumstances a limited rebuttal.
So that changes the burden of proof, right? Am I incorrect here? Because the prosecution is supposed to bring a case against the defendant. Beyond a reasonable doubt, the jury should look at the prosecution's case, like Sarah Boone. We watch Sarah Boone here in this channel. We have several videos on her. We watch Sarah Boone, and it's undeniable that Sarah Boone killed her ex-boyfriend, her boyfriend. It's undeniable that she was malicious. We have video. We have her voice. We have her putting him in a suitcase and killing him right in front of our eyes. That is undeniable. Undeniable evidence. I always thought that I would have a really hard time convicting somebody in a jury because I love everybody. I don't want anybody to be in prison. I don't think prison is a great place at all. I think they're treated like animals and I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. But when I think about a case like Sarah Boone, I'm like, I would have to say guilty because kind of like she did it in front of everybody. And that is a beyond a reasonable doubt. I had no doubt she did it. I had no doubt she did it. In this case, there's so much reasonable doubt that I'm like, what is even happening? You know, what is even happening? And the judge is like, instead of you, prosecution, bringing the case beyond a reasonable doubt, we'll let you see what the defense is going to say. And then you can go back home and talk to your little friends, your little experts, and then you can come back as many times as you want. I'm just kidding. It's not as many times as you want. But you know what I mean? You know what I mean? That's what it sounds like, Judge. Let's keep going with her final motion.
Rebuttal, and we can define the scope after we hear the testimony of Acker. So those are my rulings. Your objections were noted. I'll see everybody on Monday.
All rise for the court, please.
Ah, so aggravating. So aggravating. You guys are very mad, I see. So let me read a bunch of comments. Let me read a bunch of comments. Okay, hold on. Okay, Ryan says Higgins and Albert getting rid of their phones is one of the craziest facts. And I don't know if the jury will even hear that. Yeah, that hasn't even been introduced yet. That has not even been introduced yet. Pretty Eyes T says Procter and Bukhenik gave DNA. Right. But we don't even know what they tested for. Like, okay, so what? So where was that DNA tested for? Like, I don't remember any of that coming in. John O'Keefe, Sandra Birchmore, Craig Casey all died in Canton, none solved by the Massachusetts or the CPD, State Police or the Canton Police Department. Sheila P., he didn't come out because that was the plan they came up with the night before. Wow. Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. He's like, I don't want to go outside, just kill this guy or something. Marsha. The day before Brian Albert and Brian Higgins drove 4 hours to attend the funeral of a fallen officer they had never even met to support their fellow Blue brothers. But they didn't go to John O'Keefe's funeral, or they didn't even bother to go outside the door to say, oh, wow, a cop died here. Rick says meow. I don't know why. I don't know if you just wanted me to say meow, Rick, but there you go. Kelly Cow, this was so messed up, to say the least. Pretty Eyes T, good to see you. Back S-word compliments. That was very, very annoying. Ask Bob. Bev denied phone searches and DNA of Brian Albert and Higgins. Why? Makes no sense. That is crazy. She denied DNA and wow, that is crazy. Kelly Cow won't commit to anything. Sheila P., the cover-up started with Brian Albert and then upwards, lateral and downwards from there. Kelly Cow. Wait. Back S-word, that's exactly right. Okay, let me see it now. So disingenuous, J.I. How mad must the attorneys be? I would be so frustrated, Calico. Yeah, and the attorneys continue to act professionally. They have to, they have to keep their professionalism, their class. They have to respect the judge. They have to call her your honor. they have to say, thank you, Your Honor. Thank you for ruling against me one more time, you freaking piece of, Your Honor. Your Honor. This is totally an appellable decision, says we're all mad here. You get it way better than Hank and Beth, Kelly Kell says. Pretty Iced Tea, it's like she's telling them it's their fault for being such good attorneys. Unidentified co-conspirator. The only positive out of all this is that the Commonwealth is almost done with their case. That's true. That's true. We're going to hear from this accident reconstructionist. We'll see. Every time I see CW, I want to say Countrywide because that was a bank and I used to do mortgages and I'm like, Countrywide. Okay, Commonwealth. Ask Bob. Bev has the bangs of a 12-year-old. She makes me sick. Her hair is so funny. It's like the cousin It from the Addams Family. It's just like hair and then a little face. Cousin It doesn't even have a face, but anyways. Kelly Cow, she doesn't even know people's names. Yes. So when I said to you guys that the judge has been treating people differently, I will show you guys a video. But first, if you haven't seen this is the Young Jerks channel, Body Language of Karen Read Witnesses. We had what? 9,000, over 9,000 views when I went to his channel. So please check out that video if you guys haven't done so yet. And now let me see if I can find the judge. BiancaMMM. Let me see if I find any of my videos on her. That's hard to find here. Let me go to the playlist because I think that it's the best way to see the disparate treatment that she demonstrated since before the first trial started. Even when we had,
you see, you're the only thing standing between Karen
on the video I want, even when we had the pre-trial motions. So, judge, it didn't start here. Okay, that's one video. So let me play a little bit of this one for you guys. Wait.
I guess I would start, Your Honor, by saying that.
Wait. I just want to make sure the view is correct here. Let me make this a little bigger. And all right, here we go.
In order for evidence to come in, it has to be elicited by a party. It has to be offered by a party. You're being told that the Commonwealth does not intend to elicit this evidence and that the defense does not intend to elicit this evidence. So I guess the question
Thanks,
that I would
Kelly. I
direct to
didn't
the
know that.
court is, do you intend to follow up with questions?
I'm not questioning the jury. It's clear that it may be a response, a natural response by a witness.
Sure. So
Ms. Giannetti,
yes.
So it's clearly you try your case the way you want to try your case, and the Commonwealth decides how they want to do it. But I am not tying the hands of witnesses to natural responses to questions. So I'm taking this under advisement. If you open the door, it comes in.
Well, I completely understand that, Your Honor. I will say that I think probably, I don't want to speak for Mr. Lally, but I don't
speak for Mr. Lally. I'll hear from him in a
I'll speak
minute.
for myself then if the court will allow me.
So that's all of the defendant's motions in limine, correct, Ms. Giannetti?
Let me just have a moment.
Mr. Jackson, it's all of them, isn't it?
We filed a motion for attorney-conducted panel voir dire.
We're going to talk about impanelment this afternoon.
Just being complete in answer to the court's question. That was one that was not addressed, but that's fine.
All right. Oh, the request just to have panel, your motion was a little bit confusing.
Right.
So you want panel voir dire?
Panel voir dire, correct.
I'm not going to do panel voir dire in this case.
that there's a federal investigation.
Isn't that what this does? If you mention it?
No, what this does,
explain to me why that's not so.
That's what I'm doing.
Not yet, you haven't. So please explain that.
As the court knows, it's essential that the jury is given the context in which every single statement, whatever the statement might be, is brought to light.
Does that mean, do we say there's an objection to 25, Ms. Little? Just yes or no. All right. So I'm going to hear from Mr. Lally on the motion. Rude. I just wanted to know if there was an objection. And given that I have no information at all, I don't know who the third party culprit is, even after reading 4,500 pages. I don't know if it will prejudice or confuse the jury. How am I supposed, so you're prepared to argue all this?
I'm prepared to argue it, Judge.
All right, so we will get to that when we get to the Commonwealth's motion.
We are still actually receiving information with regards to the internal affairs investigation as recently as yesterday. So I'm happy to kind of defer ruling to the court and then address this as it comes up. I think the court will be in a much better position to rule on this issue once the witness testifies.
All right, so what would be helpful to me, once you know what it is you think you're going to try and introduce, to tell me how that complies with the holdings in both McFarland and Graham.
There are independent reasons why that is admissible outside of McFarland and Graham.
Okay, so I need to know all of that.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
5 minutes before JENNIFERMACABE is Googling how long to die in the cold, about 8 minutes before Brian Loughran, the plow driver, first drives by the house and sees no body at all. And the next morning, Brian Higgins, the first person he spoke to was Brian Albert.
I'm going to stop you for a minute. I think we need a break, Madam Court Reporter. Do you need a break? Can you
Nobody
go? How
asked
much
for
longer
a
do you think
break.
you have with this, Mr. Yannetti? How many more pages or how long you think?
Yeah, I've got about, in terms of my recitation of the facts, I've done about a page and a half and I've got 3 left.
Madam Court Reporter, would you like to take a little break? It's hot in here and you've been going nonstop.
She didn't ask for a break,
Let's take a
you
10-minute
witch.
break.
No, Rick, I didn't do that.
For us,
I
we can
deny
do that.
it.
I have a full argument
Even though there's
prepared.
All right,
proof.
so who
I
is
deny
the
it.
third party culprit?
We are under no obligation to name any specific third-party culprit.
The motion regarding the DNA, regarding excluding the DNA. Mr. Lally, why should I not allow that motion?
For a couple of reasons, Your Honor. Number one, what I can provide to the court by way of update is
Ask Bob. I
that
don't know how.
most of
Ask Bob. You can send me a message on Twitter, which is X, but I like to call it Twitter. Follow me there. Send me a message. I'll send you the link to the video. I don't know how to reach the defense, and I wouldn't want to, disturb them. But I do know you know them, so I would definitely send it. I mean, I clipped everything I could, and this year I haven't even done it yet with the attorneys and the judge, but I will. Kelly Cal, what's her problem? She has to let them make their arguments. Oh God, this was awful pre-trial. It was like, when I see something and I'm like crawling, I just want to sit down and be like, I need to expose because she doesn't care. Like, she doesn't care. But when you clip it all together and people can see it, you're like, huh, it's undeniable. How about the judge just gets to hear the truth? But with the jury, she's Mrs. Nice. Good morning, jurors. Good morning, jurors. I gotta ask you those 3 questions. You guys didn't talk to anybody about the case, right? Did you watch EDB or did you watch The Lawyer No or BiancaMMM or anybody covering this trial? No. Okay. Well, jurors, sit down and have a great day. We're going to call you in just a minute, okay? Now, Alan Jackson, let's hear from you, you piece of crap. What do you got to say to me today? Brennan, please, whatever you want to do, you just tell me I object and I'll sustain it. I'll allow it. But anyways, I don't want to keep you guys here forever. If you want to watch this video, just go to my channel. I don't know where. I think it's called.
You see, you're the only thing standing between Karen Reed
I had a hard
and the
time
tyranny
finding it.
of injustice.
I'll put the link here. I'll put the link for you guys. That's better. I'll put the link for you guys. What is happening? Where am I at? Oh, I'm watching my own live now. Okay. So anyways, I think that's good. I don't do Twitter or Facebook. Send it to Mike Crawford and tell him I asked you to. Young jerks. Okay. I'll send it to Mike. No problem. And Beverly has had that bias since before the trial. Not surprising, sadly. Yeah, you guys are saying here that her brother defended. Okay. Bev's brother defended Chris Albert on a DUI homicide after he ran from the scene. He did 6 months for a homicide. That's insane. That is insane. So yeah, and I think that is all known, you know, people know about this stuff, and she still has no, Rick say, I'm on Facebook. He still has there's no consequences for these people, you know? It makes me so mad how she won't let the defense defend. It is so irritating. Yes, it's beyond, you know? Thank you. Great show as always. Yes. Thank you guys. I am so happy that we're doing this. I want to try to do it like on the weekends, you know, try to do this on the weekends. Maybe on Sundays is better, but tomorrow I can't. So I wanted to do it today. I will definitely create the thumbnail for next week and have you guys have that alert so that you can prepare if you are able to come to the live. Thank you for watching in the rewatch cruise, and thank you for being here, for all your support. I am so grateful. I'll be releasing some videos that I am compiling together as videos, not lives, but it's always great to have you guys here in the live. So thank you for participating, and let's see what this week brings in the Karen Read retry. Let's see what it brings. Oh, hi Mark, good to see you here. I hope we have a better week. And I am confident that no matter how many times the judge tries to impede the defense from, oh my gosh, from, yeah, Mark, you're going to have to rewind like 2 hours because we've been here for 2 hours. No matter how many times, no matter what they try to do, this is such a strong case for Karen Read that I think we're going to be okay, everybody. I think we're going to be okay. Arca is phenomenal. And no matter what happens with this guy coming in and being able to come and rebut Arca again, I think that the jury is going to see that Arca is above qualified for this. And they're going to take their testimony, you know, as the truth. So thank you guys so much. I'm going to let you guys go. Have a great Saturday. Enjoy your weekend. And I will keep you posted on the next videos. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a great day. Thank you for watching, guys. BiancaMMM, your go-to place for mind meditation and motivation to elevate your life and keep you entertained. I'm passionate about exploring the human mind and psychology. And here, we dive into court proceedings, body language analysis, and sprinkle in a bit of humor along the way. You will also find content to boost your personal growth, physically and mentally, featuring quick meditation techniques and uplifting messages to kickstart your day. Your support means the world to me. Until next time, take care and stay positive.